Tonight, a new warning about the stakes this November. 16 Nobel Prize winning economists say that if former President Donald J. Trump wins, quote, his plans will reignite inflation and cause lasting harms to the global economy. And Jeffrey Sonnenfeld of Yale, who works with thousands of business leaders every year, he pointed out that the business community has not embraced the former Trump in no way, shape, or form. In fact, no one Fortune 100 CEO has donated to Trump this year. Joining me now to discuss two of my faves, Wall Street financier Steve Rattner. He's an op-ed contributing writer to the New York Times, but you know him as the Morning Joe economic analyst. And Andrew Ross Sorkin is working an extra long day, co-anchor of CNBC Squawk Box and founder of the New York Times Deal Book. Let's start with these economists. They say that Trump's policies could cause an inflation bomb. What do you think about that, Steve?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of risks here. Trump is talking about extending his tax cuts, which means massive deficits. He's talking about tariffs, which add enormously to inflation. Tariffs are paid for by consumers, not by China, not by companies, as Trump would like people to think. And it's all in all, it's a completely irresponsible economic policy that people have not yet completely focused on. Hopefully, this is the beginning of people starting to pay attention. Andrew,
you interview business leaders every day who like to understandably complain about inflation. Yep. They're not crazy about Lina Khan. They don't necessarily say that President Biden is business friendly. But when you've got 16 Nobel Prize winners saying Trump's policies will be a disaster, how are the business Trump enthusiasts going to respond to this?
Well, the Trump enthusiasts, I think, actually just look away, is what the Trump enthusiasts do. I think that those who are a little bit more with the program look at this and say this is not a good thing. I think the hardest part about this is that to the extent that CEOs are trying to figure out what's happening here, they can look at these numbers and say the inflation piece, just on its face, would be terrible. But they are also saying to themselves, what's going to happen in 2025 to taxes? And that's a very tangible thing, because whatever it is going to be a tangible number.
But Joe Biden isn't going to raise their taxes up to 38%.
Oh, look,
right?
I'm not arguing that they're going to get up to 38%. I'm saying just in terms of understanding the psychology of the CEO today, or this billionaire class we all talk about, and whether they're ultimately going to vote for Biden, they're going to vote for Trump. I think the most important piece actually is something very different, which is that they hate uncertainty. Business hates uncertainty more than anything else. And no matter what you think, there's going to be uncertainty over taxes, and there's going to be uncertainty over regulations, there's going to be uncertainty over all of these things. But the true uncertainty, they lived through this movie before of real uncertainty, the polarization of what happened inside their companies, inside the country, on their Slack channels with an email. I think that in a very different way sort of permeates their brain in a way that we don't always discuss.
Uncertainty over the rule of law.
Yeah, I mean, uncertainty over the rule of law. Look, I think many CEOs, not all, some have strong views, but I think a lot of CEOs fall into this category. We've now this wonderful phrase, double haters.
Double haters.
Double haters. They don't like either of them particularly. And so they're sitting and weighing Trump, and they don't like the democracy stuff. They don't like the January 6th stuff. They get it. They understand that Trump is a truly bad guy. They get that. But on the other hand, the economy did reasonably well to them anyway. They got their tax cuts and so forth. Then they look at the president, who they view as a person of integrity, but older. They worry about the vice president, quite frankly, and they worry about regulatory overreach, not just Lina Khan, but all sorts of regulatory agencies. They've all got their grievances. The crypto crowd has a grievance against the SEC, and it goes on and on like that. And so that's what they're weighing at the moment.
Let's talk about this different business group, right? So this group that sort of sprung up, in Silicon Valley, the Elon Musk group, some people in the hedge fund community, you've got Bill Ackman, you've got Nelson Peltz, who are all of a sudden pro-Trump.
Right. That's not
now
a money
story. Okay, now they don't have thousands. But for that, is that not a power story that they realize Trump is a transactional president and they've just bought themselves access to potentially the next president?
I think the access piece is an important piece. But I think they have Elon Musk has this sort of what they call the woke mind virus idea as the challenge. I'm not buying into that.
No, of course, President Biden and his support of electric vehicles has been damn good for his company.
Yes, but he would say, so this is very interesting. And I've always thought that this was actually one of the great challenges for President Biden, which is that President Biden did not kiss the Elon Musk ring early on because he was kissing the union ring early on. And as a result, Elon took personal offense to this. This is when they were inviting you were in the auto, the auto business. they were inviting all the automakers, the EV automakers, except for Tesla, and telling the country that these were the automakers of the future. That then, I think, actually created this very strange rift. All of these are very personal, you might even say petty issues, but I think they've almost metastasized in interesting ways. And that's why we're seeing, I think, some of this crowd go that way. You don't think?
Yeah, no, I think that. I also think they believe, rightly or wrongly, that Trump will not do all the crazy stuff that he's talking about doing.
Why do they think that?
They just think it. They think that they're going to be
forget
enough.
that January 6th happened?
Well, let's separate the economic stuff from the democracy stuff. They think they're going to be enough.
You know better than we do.
Yes.
If you don't have a functioning democracy,
of course,
you can send your economy out the window.
Of course I do. But I mean, they're just two kind of somewhat separate issues. But I think on the economic stuff, then we talk about democracy stuff, they think that Trump there'll be enough grown-ups in the room, and that if they support him now and they have that access,
yes, then they get the access.
And they can talk some sense into him. But look, fundamentally, you're of course right. The democracy thing should be disqualifying. End of discussion. It should be.
One of the things, though, I just want to say that's made this whole thing, we're here on TV talking about this. You're not going to see lots of CEOs talking about their support for Biden. I think that's actually an important thing to think about. I think that right now, CEOs who think they support Biden, either, I don't want to say they've been bullied per se, but have been bullied into silence. They're saying to themselves, A, it's very possible Trump wins, and if he wins, we don't want to be seen as being on the other side of him. And I think that in terms of the dynamic which is going to play out in the public over the next several months, you're going to see stories. Our CEOs or businesses supporting Biden or Trump. I don't think you're going to see big-name CEOs publicly championing Biden. I think it's a lot easier for some people to publicly champion Trump.
No, should they? It's not their job to do so.
You're also not going to see, I don't think, big public company CEOs publicly champion Trump.
I agree.
The days I used to do business outreach, and we used to get in 2000, 2004, we'd get a bunch of CEOs to come out for Clinton, come out for Kerry, and so forth. Those days are over. Sitting public company CEOs cannot take public sides in this.
But the Elon Musk and the Ackmans and
his own thing, yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about immigration because one would think that immigration would be a topic that CEOs or the Business Roundtable or other business organizations
Tim Cook was, by the way, asking about it at the Business Roundtable meeting with Jeff Zients.
Tim Cook was.
Yes.
I myself have said to the Business Roundtable, isn't this something that the BRT should talk more about, right? Comprehensive, expansive legal immigration, given the labor shortage that we have, given that we've got these massive infrastructure projects and we are going to need manpower, shouldn't the business community, if there's something they're going to weigh on, it be this?
Sure, but again, you're dealing with kind of almost a third rail issue, right? The country is so polarized over immigration, absolute extremes, and oddly, absolute extremes, that I think my guess is the business community has said, we don't need to weigh in on this right this minute.
I think they're very, and even I think Tim Cook's interest is more focused on dreamers necessarily than the sort of larger issue. I don't want to put words in his mouth. I don't know, but I think that the CEO community, would very much love to talk about, stapling a green card to a diploma in the U.S. But I don't know if they really want to talk about what's happening at the border.
You both, but isn't this something? They've got a labor shortage. They have hiring to do. Shouldn't they care about it?
I think if you put a CEO on this show and you basically said...
They're all dying to come on, just dying.
I'm sure they are. And basically said, what do you think of our immigration policy? They would say it is screwed up beyond all comprehension. It makes no sense. We don't give out enough visas. We give them to the wrong people. We don't put green cards on the college diplomas. They'll all say this privately.
Yes.
I just don't think they necessarily want to say it right in the middle of presidential. But they understand immigration.
But here's the last thing I want to know, right? Donald Trump is trying to put this message out, especially after the BRT meeting. So I'm sure he hated your report. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But he must have hated your reporting that people in the room said he was meandering. They weren't that excited about him.
Took to Truth Social to say so.
It doesn't much matter who these CEOs are voting for.
Right.
But is the reason Trump wants to convince us that the business community is backing him is to convince the American people these guys are the business leaders. They know best. If they think Biden sucks, then the economy is going to fail under him.
I think that's a huge part. Look, he's always marketed himself. The Apprentice. He's the entire marketing apparatus of Trump is about him as this supposed, successful business person. Right? That is That's what they've been selling the whole time.
So how would it be for him not to have the support of the business community, given that he thinks he's America's?
Okay, then my last question. Former President Trump is laser beam focused on convincing people how great he is in terms of the economy. President Biden has led a very strong economic recovery. He's got lots of policies to brag about. Why does this administration do such a poor job communicating it? I know, I decided to give you the worst question last.
Look, I've spent a lot of time talking to people about it. It's a really tough question. People do not want to believe. I've gone on television. I've gone on Morning Joe. I've shown the numbers. More jobs created per month under Biden than under Trump. Economy growing at least as fast, put aside COVID, at least as fast or faster under Biden as Trump. It's all, you can go through the whole list. People don't believe it. 50% of the country thinks we're in a recession. 50% of the country thinks the stock market has gone down this year, not up. These are public opinion polls. They just don't. There's something going on out there where people cannot explain it to them. Even Andrew cannot.
Look, the only explanation that I have, which I don't even think is maybe it's a rational explanation. Look, inflation's come down remarkably, but I do think that when you add up where people were 3 years ago and where they are now, and the sticker shock and all of that, I think that is what, by the way, Trump is hanging his hat on right now.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn. MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.